Hello everyone, it's Lottie from Cancer as a Lifestyle. So today I wanted to talk about something that it's been on my mind for a long time now. It seems that, I've met a lot of people that have cancer over the last, almost 12 years, and I've met all types of people with all types of reactions to it and all. So, but it seems the last couple times that I have met people, they seem to be a group that I've never really came across before, and these are people that are very angry and um, and isolated from it seems like they don't really have a strong foundation for friendships and family members in their life, and it made me kind of think about my own family and when I was first diagnosed, how lucky I really was that um, that my family was there for me. Now, I have to be honest, we're like a normal family like everywhere else. You have your issues and your problems, and if we're honest, that's almost every family out there in America. I mean, this is just how it is. And even overseas and all, families fight, families have issues, families, don't get along. They have, differences, and sometimes differences that keep relationships apart because of it. And so before I say that, so mine is no different, and I want to say that we are very scattered, and we have a lot of emotions in my family just as well. And I can remember, at that time I was 42, and I think my oldest was just in his early 20s, and my youngest, my daughter, was graduating high school. So she was 18 years old when I was going through this. So and I remember at that time I was also very angry and disappointed in my family, like we all are, right? We have family members that where you feel like, this crazy family, I must be the only one out there like that. So I remember, so when I did the first time I ended up in the hospital, and with my first when I was first diagnosed, my whole family showed up, and I realized how traumatic this was for all of them. Now, it's been almost 12 years, and at that time, it wasn't like this where you knew, cancer was there, and people were having cancer, and they were diagnosed, and they were dying from cancer. But it wasn't like it is now, where almost, it, everyone knows someone, or someone that is going through it, or has gone through it, or I mean, it's just, or it has a scare with it. And it's so common. I mean, talk about awareness. We are very well aware of cancer and what it can do. So at that time, it was just, I think it was just a very dramatic a time for my family, where everyone dropped everything and came to the hospital and visited me and were there for me. And I really, I realized at that time how much my family loved me and cared about me, and they did so much for me, and I let them, and I really did. I don't know if deep down, I am a very independent person, so I don't know if deep down inside I really wanted them to take care of me, um, but I did. I allowed that. And by that I mean I had a sister-in-law who was taking care, who just took over all the medical personnel, the issues, the work issue, calling them, FMLA. I mean, I didn't worry about any of that. She just handled all of it. She was on the phone with them, with my insurance and all of that. I gave her full reign, and she took care of it. She took care of it all for me. I didn't have to deal with any of these issues, which I think maybe that's why, the years to come after that, I think it was really hard for me. I still have a hard time dealing with this, the frustrations of it, because I didn't have to deal with it the first time. I had someone to do that. When I first came back, and I was having so many problems the first time in treatment, and I had a lot of infections, I had a lot of side effects that were happening, a lot of side things. I needed a fistula, I had an abscess, I had a colostomy. I mean, I had like all these different things that were going on. And I remember my whole family got together, and they literally bleached my house. I mean, I had a great support system. I had my niece Carolyn that would go and pick up my prescriptions for me. I mean, there was, I had a lot of help. I had a lot of, almost daily visits from family members who brought me goodies and things like that. I mean, I just had a great support system. So, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved, I really felt loved. So and then over the years, then, I had this long remission, and I made a point of going to every family event, every birthday party, every time I was invited somewhere. I made a point of going because I really enjoyed these relationships that were reawakened and renewed through this my cancer. Now, and when it came back the second time and the third time and the fourth time, I, you know, I became more independent, and by that means I took control of my cancer. From that point on, from the second time it came in, I shaved my own head. I went to chemotherapy by myself. I would basically became very independent in taking care of and dealing with this cancer. Maybe because the first time it was something that it seemed like, okay, I'm going through this, but once I'm done with this, it's over. And it wasn't over. It is my chronic illness, and I knew that I had to learn to take care of myself and all. So it seems really hard for me to see the last couple of people I've met that have had um, cancer that are so by themselves. I have someone that I know, and I wrote about her many times on the blog, that I've tried to reach out to her, and there's nobody visiting her. There's nobody coming here. I don't see, and that is just so strange to me. And I do understand that there are a lot of people in the world who like being alone and who keep to themselves before they're even diagnosed with anything. And I get that. I get that. They like that. I am a very private person, believe it or not. I love being all by myself. I wish I could go hide somewhere in the woods in the cabin and never come out. As long as I have my Wi-Fi, I'm content. And but I do need the importance of people in my life. So I guess today I just wanted to, cancer affects the rest of the family. It's not just me. And I've learned and realized that. And sometimes I think, when I look at my children and I remember that time, I kind of think about the different challenges that they had to go through as they were dealing with this. Now, I've met several young people who've had to deal with their parents going, having cancer, and I do realize there was one young lady that actually took over being as head of the family, and she was a very young girl, and it was very draining on her and very traumatic. And I had another young lady who also told me it was the first time she's ever seen her mom in such a weakened state, and it really scared her to death. It just scared her. And when we have to remember the other family members and our friends, that this is just as traumatic to them as it is to you. So you have to allow people into your life, no matter if it seems like they're crowding it or they're smothering you. You have to allow them to come and care for you. You have to allow them to, if they want to make you something, let them make you something. If they want to come and clean your home, let them clean your home. If they want to buy you, magazines and books and things like that, allow them to do so. I have learned in these last, almost 12 years. I mean, I'm going to do my 12-year anniversary is coming up, and I'm going to do a video on that day. But, I have learned, believe me, every time I have a reoccurrence, I just want to say, leave me alone. I'm going to stop everything. I stop running my ministry. I want to stop blogging. I want to do everything. And I just kind of want to sit tight for the next, 4 or 5 months. It never works out because I always sometimes feel that I want to retreat and I want to just kind of be by myself. But that's not what God allows me to do. He wants me to be out there. And let me tell you, that's also the time that I get the most attention and the most emails, the most phones calls, the most visits, almost crowding me at times. But I have learned that you need to allow people to serve you, to tend to you. They really want to do this. So yeah, I can tell you that when my son at that time, he just started working as an on-air personality in a radio station. I believe he was in Missouri at that time. He was working at a country station. And the way he dealt with my cancer, he took it to his listeners, and he talked about me to his listeners. And I actually have so many emails. I have so many cards and just from all his listeners that were constantly asking about me. And I remember at one time my son would tell me that, Mom, you're like a star on my program because they all want to know about my mom. So, I mean, that was his way of dealing with it. He would bring it to his audience, he would bring it to the listeners, and he would talk about me and his latest visit or whatever was going on. For my daughter, it was harder. It was a lot harder. She just started her culinary school in the first year. It was like really difficult. I think a lot of the family members thought they were doing her a favor and trying to keep a lot of things from her. And I think in the end that really hurt it, and she wasn't able to, uh, how do I say, process everything that was going on because they were keeping things from her. And on their way, it was like they are protecting her, but in a way you can't do that. You gotta let them, expose them to what is going on and let them process that. Now, there were a lot of times that I was in the hospital and I was laid up, and I was hooked up to tons of machines and wires and all, and I know that it had to look very scary and frightening, but it's something that you need to allow your family to see and process and go through. This is a disease. This is a reality, and we can't be pushing back and hiding things. I believe at that time one of my nieces was dating this one gentleman who lost his mother, and he even said that they would not tell him that he never knew that his mom was dying, and they kept the news that she was sick from him in trying to protect him. And in the end, he was just really traumatized by the fact that they did not allow him this time with his mom. So there's a lot of, when I think back to that time, I just, maybe I allowed my family and friends to take over a lot of and I just left a lot of things to them because I really felt overwhelmed by what was going on, and I liked the fact that somebody else was taking care of these things that I think I wasn't really paying attention and being as aware that maybe, hey, my daughter needed me at that time. I just thought she didn't want to come, or she didn't want to visit, or she didn't want to, that's the type of person she was, when in fact a lot of things were kept from her. And so I think maybe that's why now, and the other 3 times, like I said, now it's been back 3 more times. I think that's why I'm more vocal, and just, my children are the ones that's all I really care about when it comes to telling them. So when it comes back, now my main focus is I want to tell my children, and we talk about this quite openly a lot. We talk about my dying, we talk about my funeral, we talk about my living, we talk about a lot of these things, and you really have to. Although I do find that there is always that one family member that you cannot, I don't know how to tell this person every time that, hey, my cancer's back, because they get so dramatic and they get so emotional, and that I end up having to hold their hand, and instead of them holding my hand, if that makes any sense. So I'm always, every time it comes back, I'm always thinking of, okay, how am I going to announce this? How am I going to say this to my family? Because I think a lot of my family members, since it's been already, like I said, almost 12 years, a lot of them have kind of, you know, I don't want to say they kind of left it to me but they know that I've taken control of it. And if I need to, I know that they're there, that I can call on them and all to help me. But they pretty much, I think I don't want to say like in awe but I think they're kind of happy with the way I've been handling it. That I can take care of myself, and I do have people around me if I need to, and I actually put more focus on my children on these times now than I have ever did the first time. And that, I mean, I include my children in whatever decision I am making with my treatment, and because I didn't want to happen what happened the first time. And I realized that in the end, it's going to be them that are going to be taking care of me in the long term. It's going to be them that's going to end up having to arrange my funeral and, and be there in hospice with me. It's not going to be anybody else. So I know that they're the main people in my life that I have to talk to about this. Now, again, I can't stress this enough. Don't keep your family members in the dark about your illness or how bad it is or if you need treatment or all. I think a lot of it too is that the longer we stay how can I don't want to say stay alive, but the longer we are here treating our chronic illnesses, whether it's cancer or heart disease or your stroke or anything else, whatever it may be, your lupus and on, the more I think they may become complacent with the fact though that, hey, look, she's got it, she's fine, look, she's been years, she's like doing really good, when in fact sometimes we are not doing good and we don't tell them. So we do need to keep them upgraded or, updated on what is going on. So I just wanted to bring that because I'm always kind of, it's been really bothering me the last couple of times, the last couple of people I've met that had, and you could say consoled at how alone they are, and they choose to be alone, and it's just, I don't know, and I've not come across, and I still have one lady that I just cannot reach her for anything. Every time I've reached out to her, she's just shut the door in my face. And I don't know, it makes me question that maybe they've always been like this, and they've always been alone and prefer to be alone and not with people. And there are people like that don't really want anyone in their life. And so when they're going through an illness, I really feel sorry. I really feel upset at that fact that there's nobody there to care for them, or they don't allow people into their life to care for them and tend to them. So thank you for listening to me today, and I know that it might be kind of morbid for some people and all, but my anniversary is coming up, and I have been thinking about this a lot, and I wish I could give you like a step by step of what to do or not to do. But family members and friends are family members and friends, and everyone's is different, and you kind of have to almost wing it, and how you have to do what is right for you, and what I did may not be all right for you. It's only all right for me. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening to me on my rant. And allow people into your life to care for you or take care of you or to do things for you, and it's okay to do so. It's okay to let them love on you if they want to. And thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Thumbs up if you like the video. Comment below. I love to hear from people. I like to answer people if I can. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye bye.